What's up, YouTube? This is Hector.
This is Drew.
And we're from Not Too Nerdy. Today's episode 14 of our podcast, and today we're going to be talking about Indie Game, the movie. I actually thought it was a great movie. And the other topic we're going to be talking about is next generation consoles. So we're going to start this off. Drew's going to start us off this time and go straight into the movie. What do you feel about it?
Alright, so Indie Game, the movie came out this week. It's a movie about three different indie games that came out over the last couple of years. We have Braid, done by Jonathan Blow, which was done in 2008. We have Super Meat Boy, which was released in 2010, I believe. And we have Fez, was the last one that was released earlier this year. So basically the movie, it goes through all three of these games. First, you speak with Jonathan Blow, who's he's kind of like the indie darling who actually was the first one to have like a really big indie title that was successful. So he's kind of like the narrator of the film that they talk to, and they kind of go into like, you know, what did he do that made him successful. Then you have Super Meat Boy, which is Edmund and Tommy. Edmund is he's the bigger gentleman in the movie. He's the artist for the game. He's worked on, I think they said, like 20 different indie titles throughout his 10-year career that he's been making indie games. And you have Tommy. He's the programmer for Super Meat Boy, and they're just, you know, they were very close to release, and they show like when the game is released, how it looks on launch day. And then you have Fez, which is this was the long-awaited indie game title that's been developed.
Anticipated indie game.
That's been in development for so long. I think it was 4 years. He said maybe 5 by the time it came out this year. And they show him first unveiling the game, and then the whole entire process of him taking too long and why that process happened and so forth. I mean, it was a very good movie, man. It shows you what it's like to be an indie game developer, which I think is what the film wants to accomplish. You know,
it had to be one of the best documentaries I've ever seen.
Definitely,
it's really, really good.
Especially for something that a lot of people don't know about. I think my only complaint with the film would be that maybe if you're not familiar with the scene, or if you're not familiar with video games in general, it might be hard to follow, because I think they didn't explain enough of what exactly the difference is. I mean, they did give like a broad overview of what a mainstream game and what an indie game is. Maybe that's something they could have gone into a little bit more further. But as far as just looking at exactly what the process is of trying to release an indie game, I think they did a really good job of that.
I think they explained it okay. Like, I mean, they explained the difference between indie game right away. You could tell the budget. Like, you like don't have big studio budget. You have your own money. Sometimes like Fez was the only one that actually got a loan to
student grant.
Yeah, it got a grant to actually fund the program. But in reality, it's still, if you think about the fund, like what was it, a couple it wasn't that much at all, you know. So in reality, like that's the only difference between the big studio. I mean, they give you like a good example throughout the movie, like the one part where he's like, oh, like look how long the guy from Fez, the one who created Fez, he's saying, oh well, look how many people you have like designed that game, and like they have like 1,000 people, and like they take like 4 or 5 years, and So
I think that was a good point.
Yeah, I think that is a good analogy to see. Like sometimes games just take too long, and especially when you do it by yourself or with one other person. Yeah,
and it's funny to see like the whole entire thing where like people, you could tell they were fans of the game, but they're getting annoyed because it was coming out. And like I think like a lot of people just this movie would help out Fez, because maybe people would understand exactly what happened. I mean, the whole entire thing with the issue in the movie was had to do with the sour business relationship between Fez and his old partner, and that's part of the reason why it took so long, because he was in all these legal battles throughout the film. But I just want to talk about like each 3 sections, because the movie's kind of split up in 3 parts based on these 3 developers. First, I want to kind of talk about Jonathan Blow, and like what do you think about Jonathan Blow and his persona, because he's kind of like he's kind of has like this whole entire persona around him. Like they call him like a pretentious douche. That's what a lot of people call him from the indie community, and they feel like like even though he was successful, like and part of the movie explains this is the whole entire thing with the reviews for the game. When so they show in the movie, right?
Soldier Boy.
Yeah. So in the movie, like if you know anything about Braid, like it was one of the top indie titles in 2008, where they kind of introduced where this indie scene kind of broke out in 2008, where it was a critical success and a commercial success for Jonathan Blow. And the thing about Jonathan Blow was his main complaint about when he was looking at the reviews that day was that he didn't like that they didn't get the deeper meaning of what the game was, where like the reviewers were just going off the baseline mechanics of the game, which is, it's a puzzle game where you have he's like a prep boy kind of character, and he has this time manipulation mechanic where he reverses time to solve these different puzzles. And people, praising the art style and that mechanic. Whereas, like, Jonathan Blow, he said, like, there's this whole entire deeper meaning and story behind
like,
the game.
they didn't even scratch the surface, in other words. Like, they're just all about, like, the physical part of the game. Yeah. They didn't look at the deeper...
The metaphysical, whatever you call it. And they were just saying, like, how pretentious of a douche he was, because every single review he would go and comment on every single review. I thought that was hilarious, because he was just, like, correcting these reviewers and everything. Like, it just showed you, like, how, like, he was really into it. Like, he was really into this game. And understandable, you put your life... And I think that's what, the good thing part of the movie. It really shows that these people put their life, their life on the line. They sacrifice things to get these games out. And it's kind of nice that, someone like Jonathan Blow, he's very talented, and, he's able to, like, make the game he wants to now, which is coming out this year, The Witness, I believe it is. But it's just kind of funny that they showed, like, the other side of the thing, where it's like, why indie games may have this bad rap, because people like Jonathan Blow, like, they're always opening their mouth and say, like, he has, like, these big lectures sometimes about, like, what's wrong with gaming, and, like, I think he looks at gaming a little bit, like, I don't know, like, too intellectual. I think at the end of the day, like, he had a whole entire argument about, like, a lot of developers will say, we make games because we want them to be fun. And he's saying, that's not a good thing. Games shouldn't be fun. Games should be like movies where they're trying to say something. And I think there's some room for that, but at the same time, I think what makes games great than these other mediums is the interactive element of it. And I think that's something that I think he needs to maybe tone it down a little bit. What do you think of Jonathan Blow?
Honestly, like, I have a different perspective than Drew, because, like, I'm someone that's trying to be a game software developer, so like, I totally understand where he's coming from. Like, I'm not as into it as he is, though. Like, the problem with him, he knows that gaming is art. And when you're a developer, it's your artwork. Like, you're designing something, you're developing it, you're trying to put your heart and soul into it, and you have an idea from when you start developing a game, what you want the game to be. You want to send a message to someone else. It could be something, a fun, loving message, but it could be something that's actually a deeper meaning. Yeah. And he had a deeper meaning to that, and he felt offended by the way people were not getting the meaning. They were just looking at the way the game played. Like, oh, it's great. Yeah. And I understand to a certain extent why he feels that way, but he has to understand, just like anything else you do in life, like, if it is art, if you're trying to make it art, which you're claiming it is art, and I feel it is art, a lot of people feel it's art. Well, you have to understand, if someone looks at a painting, right, not everyone's going to think that painting looks the same. They might think something else. They might see something else in that picture. They might think that artist had something else in mind, but yet they don't really know what the artist is. And that's part of art, that you could sit down there, you could give it to anyone and let them make the story behind it. Yeah. Like that's what, like, as a developer, you should want someone to actually do their own ending. Like, you're talking about, like, games like Mass Effect 3 and stuff like that, where people got so upset with the ending. In a way, you could make your own ending to certain things, but people choose not to. Yeah. And you have to realize, if you really want to make it an art, which it is an art, you have to understand that. Just let them decide on their own ending. Let them decide on the story. If they like it for a certain reason, that's why they like it. You should be proud that people are liking your game. If they hate it, it doesn't matter either. You should be proud of what you did, what you accomplished. You put your heart and soul into something.
I totally agree with that. I think
it's horrible.
I think it has a lot to do with the whole entire way gaming as a medium is. It's an interactive thing where people tell their own stories. Like, why, like, something like Skyrim is so popular is because, like, people interpret the way they manipulate the world in that game. And I think that's how a lot of games should be. In terms of maybe someone took away something different braid than Jonathan Blow. Is something wrong with that? I mean, just his own unique interpretation of what the game is does not mean that's the clear-cut way the game should be reviewed or people critique the game. Like, I think, like, he doesn't understand that, like, this type of medium is something that, like, you know, it's something. It could be something more personal than a lot of other mediums because it's not passive, where someone's telling you how to feel about it. Maybe, you know, whereas, you know, you kind of look at it the way, you know, you interpret it when you're playing the game, how it makes you feel. And I think, like, if this many people, like, universally acclaimed it for some good reason, like, he should find, you know, I feel like he doesn't find any satisfaction in that. As it seems like, you know?
In a way, like, I don't want to put him down too much, because I completely understand where he's coming from. The fact that it's not, what separates an indie game from a big production game is the fact that you don't have people telling you what to do, what you can't put and what you can't not put in the game. So this is all him. This is all his emotion, all his feelings, what he wants the game to be. So that's part of the reason why, like, he puts more into it than an actual developer for a big studio, because they have thousands of other people working for them, and in the end, like, they have a group of people deciding what's going on. And at the end, a publisher could always tell you, I don't want this in there, and tell the producer, say, make sure that this does not go in there. And the producer's going to say it because producers putting money into it. Exactly. So in the end, they could take things out of the game that they don't want. So regardless if you have a great idea or not, it might not make the cut in the end. But in the indie game, it's not like that. You're making it on your own. You get the final choice of what the game is actually going to be. And I understand why he feels that way, but you have to understand, like, with that said, you have to understand that, you know, people have their own opinions, and if you shouldn't feel bad if someone's still giving a good score for a reason why you didn't think you had to give a good score. You should feel proud that people are playing your game and people are enjoying it, regardless how they're enjoying it. The fact is they're enjoying your game. So
and so on that note, I think to a similar note, when you look at the second set of developers, Edmund and Tommy, you kind of see Tommy, who's the programmer on the project, it kind of has a similar attitude to Jonathan Blow. One of the things I noticed off the bat was that, you know, his whole entire interpretation why he did it in the game. I think they could elaborate a little bit better on it, because, I mean, he just blatantly said, he was like, you know, if I went and worked for EA or some other company, he's like, that's hell to me. Like, he didn't really explain why, like, why he didn't feel like, he's like, oh, Halo or Call of Duty is just shit. Like, I don't really understand, like, what was his motivation for why he was an indie developer.
I completely disagree with that, because for me, like, you know, like I said, if I want to develop for someone, like, I appreciate all forms of games. Like, I'm a true gamer by heart, but also in developer mind. Like, I'm not gonna put down someone else's work. Like, and if you see throughout the movie, that's the message of the movie, is how much time and how much of their life people give up to develop these games. And yet, as a person that, you know, like them, that sat down and developed a game for too long, for him to put down, oh, Halo and all this other companies that, like, Call of Duty sucks, like, you know what I mean? Maybe it's not for you, but don't say it sucks, because they're doing something right. People enjoy it.
That's exactly how I feel. I was like, I hate when, you know, don't get me wrong, like, I feel like, to a certain extent, I can understand why the indie community is the way it is, because a lot of the times it is, like, you know, this whole entire thing with sequelitis and some of the same ideas are keep getting pushed out. But at the same end, like, you got, I think, like, some of these guys got to realize, like, a lot of these companies that start off huge, right? Like, they start off little, just like you, and then they grew. And just because someone's successful, that takes away from, you know, whether or not it's a good game or not. I just don't believe in that. I think, you know, there can be small shitty games and big shitty games, as well as the same thing on the other side. Small good games and big good games. It doesn't really make a difference what the scope is. You know, no one's better than the other. You just judge each product on its own merit, I think. And so, I mean, on that note, I felt like he really just, you know, you could tell, like, the guy was miserable. Even though he was kind of doing what he wanted to do, like, I felt like, you know, the other guy, Edmund, I think he was a little bit more appreciative of, like, the way the whole entire project went. Because, you know, if you watch throughout the movie, you know, they show their struggles. They show, like, that, you know, Tommy sacrificed, like, his, you know, he was just saying, like, he sacrificed his social life, and he didn't have much of a social life, and all his money, you know. What'd you think about that whole entire thing where you felt like he was kind of fitting into a mold where, like, he's the quiet game developer that, you know, doesn't go out and he just codes all day. And,
well,
like,
they even show that. They try to grasp that they show him eating at a diner by himself, or a waffle place or whatever, waffle shop by himself. And he even said, like, he's like, I don't even have enough money to go on a date. Like, if I did, like, I wouldn't be able to pay for both of us. He's like, well, maybe for me.
And that's the thing. Like, certain parts of that I didn't like. Like, I didn't like some of the stereotypical things that they showed, like that guy. But there's some truth to that. That's why I kind of like that they balance it out where they show Edmund like he had a wife and like he was sacrificing his relationship with his wife rather than just a lonely guy that doesn't have anything except this game.
But the thing is, sometimes that's what it is, though.
That's
like,
what it takes.
Sometimes it is a lonely person that is a developer that puts his heart and soul into it. That's why some people are so emotionally involved in the game. It's because they feel like their real life means nothing. That game is what means everything to them. They put everything into that. Yeah. So that's why I completely understand. In the movie, they try to capture that, and it's real. It's real. The story is real, and they try to capture it for a reason. And I mean, you could finish over the. I want to say something at the end.
I definitely think that's what really goes into the last part. I just want to kind of finish up the Super Meat Boy aspect of it, because I just want to kind of talk about how they showcased the whole entire movement in terms of getting recognition on these platforms. And I think that was another good thing that they did in the movie was they showed actual launch day of Super Meat Boy, which was it was a horrendous experience if you've seen it. And I think it's really, that's something that these companies, Microsoft and and Sony, not so much Steam, but Microsoft and Sony really need to work on in terms of indie games. They showed that the game was released that day and how long it took for them to actually put the promotion up to advertise the game on the marketplace for Xbox. And it's you could just see Tommy, his reaction. He goes on the Xbox in the morning. Can you imagine that? You work on this game for 2 years they worked on it. You put your heart and soul on it. You rush to put this game out because of this promotion that's gonna give you this advertisement on the dashboard for the Xbox, for the marketplace. And he goes on there. He looks for the game. He can't find it. And then the whole entire thing, he's like, what do I do now? Do I put up on Twitter 5-step instructions how to find the game?
See, the thing I don't understand is how come Microsoft wouldn't get sued for that? Because not sued for it, but be look, I'm not going to pay you the whatever percentage they're supposed to be paying because they're making a percentage out of what the game makes. Why should you get that percentage? It should be lowered because you messed up the sales. You messed up your own sales on top of it because you're making more money too. That's the thing I don't understand.
I kind of think it's I think they take advantage of these indie guys. I feel like it was a big publisher out there, they would take them to court. Obviously they have the resources to do that. Whereas these indie guys, they know they're kind of putting their everything they got into these titles, and they don't have anything to fight back. So it's kind of they take advantage.
Think about how you were talking about how well they did though, right? So you might as well go into that.
So I mean, even after that, it was great. I think one of the feel good movies, feel good parts of the movie was that they showed they did 20,000 the first day, which was actually better than Braid, which was the previous title. Basically double Braid Day, which was basically the biggest title before then. So it was nice to show that after all that hard work, it really paid off. And in the movie they show they show Edmund and his wife. His wife wanted this. I forgot the name of it. It was a skinless cat. It's the one from Austin Powers.
The Sphinx? No, it's not Sphinx.
The Sphinx.
No, the Sphinx is a different one. I forgot which one it is.
But this ugly ass cat. The ugly ass hairy cat that she wanted, she got at the end of the movie in their house, and it's just great. They showed to this day they sold 1 million copies of Super Meat Boy, and it's well deserved.
See, that's what I'm talking about. Because the fact that Microsoft delayed it for a couple hours, or what I think is 4 hours total, that it was late, that just shows how well they did in that short amount of time. They would have done even better quicker. So to me, that turns out to be a lot more money involved in there than people are saying. But now I just want to talk about the ending of that section right there, where there's one part Edmund goes up to Tommy and he tells him about he said that Braid at this point had about 8,000 to 10,000 in sales, and he's like, oh, that's good. He's like, so we're 15,000. We're most likely gonna hit 20,000. He's trying to tell him that we might reach 20,000. He's like, oh, that's cool. Tommy's all out of it, and that part to me just showed even Edmund's are you okay? He's like, yeah. He's like, I'm just tired, and just the way he said that and the way it sounds, you could tell how he maybe slightly depressed still, slightly out of it because he's been coded for so long, but that just shows when a programmer gets programming these indie games, they put in like at least 16, 17, 18 hours a day, just put in all this time. They wake up and they do it again over and over again, and like they waste lots of their life just doing this game. And like when they're done, like they don't even have time to celebrate. Some of them is because they're so emotionally involved in the game still. Like like that's it. Like they really don't know what else to do. You know?
And it's funny, like someone has to like they show Edmund like having a Skype call with this guy, and he's like, should be happy, you know, and he's just like looking at him, it's just like he's out of it. Yeah, I think he was severely depressed.
It is depressed, and like because I don't know, maybe the fact that he's been working on something so hard, like, and he finally got what he wanted, but at the same time, maybe he thought when he got it, like maybe he thought it was gonna be something different. He's gonna feel different when he got what he wanted. But he maybe realized that just maybe he didn't get what he wanted, the feeling that he wanted, and it's just the way it is, and it's kind of funny in a way.
It's kind of like you see him saying that he's like, I did this for myself. I didn't do this for like the money and stuff like that. It seemed like he just like maybe he had to prove it to himself that he could put out something and be successful. I don't know. Like I think that's something like it's kind of hard to put that in an hour and a half movie. Like what exactly was his complete motivations? I know they partly said that like it was partly to pay off his debt for his parents' house, which is an admirable thing. It's just like I felt so sorry for this guy like at the end of the movie, but not as sorry as I felt for Phil Fish, which was the third indie developer in this movie.
Just to sum up the telling them, just like the very very end of the movie. It's funny because like it's ironic because Tommy's over here saying he's tired, he's done, like he's tired of it, he's really tired and all that stuff. But at the end of the movie, they said they're both working on a new project. Right. So to me, it just shows like how maybe it's just the way it is. Like when you develop a game and you put your heart and soul into it, like when you stop, it's like you have that numb feeling, like you don't know what else to do, like what to do next. And the fact that they're successful afterwards, they don't know what to do next. So what's the next thing they do? They go right back into working again, hardcore. So that just shows it right there that you get to see like it never ends, and they'll go right back into it. Yeah. But like you're saying, the last guy.
Yeah, Phil Fish.
Mr. Fez.
Mr. Fez, which was I think he's the star of the movie because like he really embodies like I think everything that can go wrong with an indie game, whereas as well as like the whole entire thing of like he was really depressed. He was even more depressed than Tommy was. Like I mean, just in general, a little overview of the game. It came out earlier this year, and the whole entire thing is Fez. It's been this 2008 indie game award winner, and since then the game hasn't been shown, and everyone's been wondering like what's been going on with the development. So like I stated previously before, like he had a falling out. First he got a grant to have the game, and then he had a falling out with his partner for the game, and then part of the reason he was taking some of his own money to develop the game. Then his father got leukemia, I believe it was, and then he had to deal with that as well while he's making the game. Like just all the like worst things that can happen to you. Also, they show his first unveiling of the game at 2010 at PAX.
Wait, was it? But before that they showed that they won. You said they won an award in 2008.
Yeah, won an award in 2008. Yeah.
And then the PAX ones. You gotta explain that one.
Yeah, it was in 2010, I believe. It was 2011.
Yeah,
right?
That's when I was actually there at PAX. It was 2011 when they went to PAX.
Yeah. So before the event even starts, like they show him in his hotel room and he's freaking out, and it's because like this whole entire he has this whole entire ongoing lawsuit with his partner from who's the other half of his company, Polytron. And the whole entire situation with that is that for some legal obligation, they don't really go into depth about it. He can't
legally can't.
Pretty much. If they in the movie they don't even show who the guy is or name who he is. I would imagine they didn't have the right to. But they show that he's not legally obligated to show Fez, at PAX East, and like they just show him like he's just like he's still going through with it because like that's how much the game means to me. Like he needs to put it out there because. He wants it to come out. I guess it was planned later that year, but as we all know, it came out earlier this year. And he wanted to show it out because like so many people you know, the anticipation for the game was so high, and you really need to show it, just to show that, you know, it's still in development and it's coming out, you know. And then he finally, you know, after everything, he sets up his booth. You know, I believe he probably took his own money out to set up his booth with whoever his new business partner was, and he actually showed the game. And the worst part about it is, he made some changes to the game. He says earlier
the night before.
Yeah, and the game has all these game breaking crashes.
Yeah.
Like it was really horrible. He had to go underneath the booth, get the keys, and reset the Xbox and reset the game, and like it was just happening in the middle of people like waiting for this long-awaited title. You know, and you said you saw him at PAX East.
Yeah, I remember. I walked by the booth a couple times and I saw this one guy. I didn't know who he was at the time.
Mm-hmm.
I heard something about Fez a while ago. Like I just knew it was some game, but honestly I didn't even know that it was that type of game. I thought like when I first heard it, it's gonna be like a phone game. Cause when someone said indie game, I figured that they're gonna go on a phone,
mm-hmm.
the phone side, like on an iPhone at the time.
Right.
So I thought it was gonna be an iPhone game, and then I saw something of at the time it was Xbox. I believe they were playing on, and like I was looking at it, I'm like, oh, that's kind of cool. But
mm-hmm.
then I remember like it was a line, and then every now and then like people walked away from it. So I thought like it was a certain time for the show.
Yeah.
And I thought that like it was it. Like people walked away from it. I thought the booth was closed, and then it's funny because like now that like we were able to watch a movie,
yeah.
I was able to say, oh, that's what happened.
Yeah,
that's why
exactly.
people kept going there and walking away. I remember there was a line and there wasn't a line. There was a line, there wasn't a line. Anytime I walked up there was no line. I was like, so I just walked away. And I think I went to like 3 or 4 times to that booth, and I just walked away because I'm like, whatever. It's not that big if no one's going there anymore.
So it's kind of it's interesting, right?
It's funny because now the part that I was talking about before with how much like these developers put their heart and soul into it.
Yeah.
You discussed it too with how he acted the day before when he didn't know what was going on. He felt so sick. He said at one point he was gonna pass out, puke, and what at the same time. He said something like he felt so sick that to his stomach because his the other guy, the one that used to be his partner, didn't sign the paper yet, and he's over there stressing and saying so. He actually shouted out, "I'm gonna kill myself. I'm gonna kill myself." Like he kept saying, "If this doesn't go well, I'm gonna kill myself." That's what he said earlier.
Yeah.
Then all of a sudden he said he started cursing and said, "I'm gonna fucking kill that guy. If he doesn't do this, I'm gonna kill him. I'm gonna literally kill him." Like if you look at his face, like
dead serious.
Like he's dead serious what he's saying. Like it wasn't edited. It wasn't a joke. Like he looked like he was like that. Like his heart and soul was in this game, and he didn't want to go there and possibly not show the game and finish the game.
And I think like one of the best lines in the movie was like, you know, he's like, "This is personal to me." He's like, "I'm the guy who makes Fez." He's like, "I am this game." He's like, "I am Fez." He's like, "If I don't have Fez, I'm nothing." He's like, you know, he's like, "If I don't put out this game, I'm nothing. I might as well die." Like he's just like really like he's really depressed. He's like really into the game. Like that's him. Like he felt like the game was an extension of him. Like he felt like if this game didn't come out, like what's the point? You know, that's what he felt like, and like it was just unbelievable. Like that someone could put, you know, everything they got into a game. Like people just look at it like games, like, oh, it's just a game. You know what I mean? Like people say it all the time. It's just a game, but to him, it wasn't a game. Like this was his whole entire life. Like they show like just him growing up. Like I like that section where they showed like him with the old Macintosh computer, and like they're showing like how his father was, you know, he used to draw like the pixel art, and his father would like, you know, make little games out of it. And it was nice that they showed like that's, you know, even since he was a little kid, like he was like this has been his life. Like if he didn't have games, like what would he be? Like he knew exactly what he wanted to do even since he was little. Like he's like, I want to make games. I've always wanted to do it, and you know, he's like, if I don't have games, like there's nothing.
See,
you know?
The one thing I liked about him is that he actually used like for motivation certain things people said. For example. There's, like we said, Fez took so long to come out, and there was articles and like comments about Fez on there. People say like oh, like fucking hate this game. This game's gonna be shit when it comes out. Like does it still exist? Like what is this crap? They started saying all this. They said go die or something like that. I saw certain random comments. He just kept looking and scrolling down, and it's funny because like he's like very into what like he cares about what people thinks.
Yeah.
But he's not to the extent where the first guy is the first guy we're talking about.
Yeah, Jonathan Blow.
Yeah, he's not like to Jonathan Blow, because Jonathan Blow is overboard where he gets offended if someone doesn't think the same thing, because you actually see like the fact that he felt so honored at the end of the movie, even though everything's going wrong. You know, everything was going wrong in the booth, and all this stuff it just kept going wrong because he had to keep restarting the game. It kept crashing after every person was playing the game. It kept crashing at different points too, not even the same point, like different sections. It kept crashing. So he felt so honored and so happy when one of the directors, the lead people for the Penny Arcade, like as soon as he complimented the game and he actually got it, what the game meant, exactly. Like this, and he was so entertained, and he like by the game. Like, the creator was just so ecstatic that someone actually understood him. And not just someone that's in charge of Penny Arcade, which Penny Arcade was mostly, believe it or not, small games, small companies, indie games. And then all these giant games came there in PAX in Seattle. And then once that happened, they moved over to this PAX East as well. So they have two big conventions. Right. And, for someone that started it all, to actually compliment him, he felt so honored that it seemed like it motivated him more. Like it washed out everything that was bad in that experience of PAX East. It washed it all away because he was able to see someone that was at a bigger position to actually care about what he did. So that I thought that was pretty cool, and I thought that was important that they put that in the movie, that they showed that, because it showed that it once again motivated him when he started to feel down again. Right. So
yeah, overall, man, I really enjoyed the movie. I would love to see, not a sequel, maybe something like a TV series or something like that, where they would look at one developer, and they would go through the whole entire process. I think this is something we need more of, I'm always interested to see the behind the scenes of how these games are made, because I think that's one thing that I don't think you see a lot of. Now, we're kind of going in this direction where you got developer diaries, and you're kind of getting idea, but like this is like the true to form, like how these games are made, and it's a good I think it's a good, especially for up and coming developers. I think it's a very important movie to watch if you actually want to go into the scene, because you kind of want to know what you're getting into before you get into it, right?
It definitely motivated me. It really motivated me to start working on it, because I kept thinking I have to work at a big company. I have to work at a big company. That's what I went to school and everything for. But I'm thinking, why not do so? I have the tools now. I know what I need to do. Why not go for it? So
and there's no better time now. The whole entire thing they kind of glossed over, but they discussed was that the whole entire reason why this movement is even able to happen is because things like Steam, where they made digital distribution a reality to people, and that's really where the industry is going. And like indie games is a perfect thing where back in the day, like it was always like small teams creating these games, and now that kind of vibe is coming back now, where a small team can put out a game because all these tools are available. You can quickly iterate and all that stuff. But at the end of the day, you still have to put your heart and soul into it, and it's you have to sacrifice some things for these games to come out. But just financially, emotionally, socially, something has to go down.
Sacrifice a lot.
You have to sacrifice something just to go down. But you have anything else you want to say about it?
That's pretty much it. The movie, I actually enjoyed it, and that's definitely something you guys should see. Indie Game, the movie, you have to check that out.
We'll definitely put a link in the description if you want to go out and support them. Definitely, you can get it Steam, iTunes, directly from the site. So there's plenty of places to get it from, and I definitely recommend everyone go out and check it out.
Definitely. So we're gonna go straight to the next topic. We're not gonna spend too much time on this, but I'm sure it's gonna be very debatable. We just want to discuss next generation consoles. Obviously, we have a next generation console that they say is coming out this holiday season, or it might. I don't even know now, because that's another thing I'm going to discuss right now. But pretty much, I'm going to discuss the Wii U real quick for the next generation console. First of all, we don't even know the prices of the Wii U. I don't even know what's going on, because I've seen prices vary from $299, right? $299 in the U.S. to all the way to $435. It might be the U.S.
Right.
Which $435 seems way too much. $299 seems like I don't think it costs that much at all if it's $299, because it's the same prices. You could get an Xbox or a PlayStation. PlayStation 3, Xbox 360, the same price. But I was reading articles and stuff. They're saying that that's too high of a price range for Nintendo to succeed. And I'm thinking, how is $299 a high price for Nintendo to succeed? Like, if they do $250, are they really gonna make money at all?
Yeah, I think with Nintendo, it's got to come out $299 because just the whole entire thing with the tablet, how much that costs, and then also Nintendo in general, they don't like to take a loss on their consoles, whereas like Xbox, PS3.
But the articles I read, like, how are they gonna say that that's too expensive? They're gonna $250 is the price. I'm like $250. The Wii came out $250. Yeah. And you're trying to say something that's supposed to be next generation console? What are you telling me? Like, are you telling me that this is supposed to be next generation console is only going to cost $250? Yeah, it sounds great. Maybe you might get people to buy it, but the thing is, are you going to get developers to buy into it to say, well, they're selling for so cheap, like, what do they expect their games to do?
Right.
Because I'm seeing certain games online. Like, I made a mistake. I announced, like before, when one of my vlogs saying that, oh, well, it looks like all the games are going to be $60. That's what they're all priced in at. It's wrong. The third-party developer games look like they're priced at $59.99. The Nintendo brand games, the Mario and all that stuff are priced at $99.99 for pre-order for Amazon. Now, I don't know if that just means they're doing that to... People are saying, oh, they're just doing that as a safety net, so whenever the price drops, they'll lower the price.
Right.
True. Then why are the third-party companies that are also pre-order priced at $59.99? So that just confused the crap out of me. If you go right now online to Amazon and you look at all the games that will be coming out during the time, it doesn't say the time when it comes out, but it says for pre-order for the Wii U, all the third-party companies are $59.99. The third, all the Nintendo brand, the first party. All right, I'm talking about that in Nintendo Land. They have the Mario, Wii U, like all that stuff. If you look at it, it's priced at $99.99. So to me, like, I'm just looking at this, I'm like, wow, like maybe they really will sell the system lower, and try and make up for the games, like the software, which I don't know. I think for this game to be the system to be successful, it has to be at $299 and it has to come with Nintendo Land. It's almost guaranteed it's not coming with no game.
You don't think it's gonna come with any game?
Nintendo Land, the way it looks like an official game that they're investing into. It's not going to come with that because I'm seeing online that they're selling that separate. So since the fact that they're selling it separate, it tells you that it's not coming with that system unless you get like one of those combos or whatever, the bundle packages. That's the only way you're going to get that. You have to pay extra for it anyway, so it makes no sense.
Yeah, I don't think that's a good decision.
I don't even know what they're going to do.
Because I know it's not going to come with no Mario, that's for sure.
Is it even backwards compatible? Anyone mention that?
I don't think so.
Right? It's funny because we still don't know what's going on. We do know it's 1080p now, they're claiming.
Yeah.
Some games will be 1080p, then 1080i, and then so on.
Right.
So, I don't know. I really don't know what that means.
I think the biggest problem, we're talking about next-gen consoles where this kind of feels like a bridge console. It doesn't feel like they showed any titles that really... convince us is the next generation, It's especially showing that 2D Mario, which is supposed to be their biggest game, coming out of it. Why didn't they show Mario Galaxy 3? It's like, I feel like they just, they up-res, to me it seems like they up-res all these older Wii titles in the Dolphin emulator or something. Like, it's just, oh, Mario's finally in HD. I'm like, yeah, it's 2012. Like, he should be in HD.
The only game that actually was there is the one that they didn't even introduce.
Right.
And that was Assassin's Creed 3. They didn't even show it a presentation, and that actually looks good, and that looks like you could compete against 360 and PS3 easily.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But the thing is that people are wondering, like, we're not really arguing or debating too much of if it could compete against PS3 and 360. We assume that it better be able to be better in those two systems, but the question is how much better is it?
Right.
Is it something that next console, the next generation for the Xbox, the next generation for the PlayStation, is that going to be better?
Yeah.
Then is it going to be way better in this Wii U? Like, if that's the case, then why even buy the Wii U? So right now we're going to go over what we both feel should be, like what we expect from the next generation console overall. Like, I'm assuming you want to do it just for what the Xbox next generation console should have, or just overall?
Yeah. I first want to just speak about, in terms of the biggest thing is what's third party support. Where I feel like, if they really want to, like Nintendo in general, or any of these, they really need that third party support to be successful. And I feel like one of the clearest things that we displayed since last week was all these different tech demos that they went over. They went over Unreal Engine 4, Square Enix's demo, and the main thing that worries me a little bit about that is like Nintendo clearly is not going to be able to handle these next gen consoles. I mean, these next gen engines, these are going to be the type of engines that are going to be fueling the next generation, hopefully, right? Mm-hmm. And it's like at that point, it's like, really, is it next gen if it can handle what's coming up from especially something like Unreal Engine 3, which Unreal Engine 3, which is something that a lot of games are powered by. The majority, I would say probably the majority of games are powered by, if they're not like an in-house engine. Like they didn't announce any type of Wii U support.
The way it looks like, I'm almost guaranteed it's gonna be Unreal Engine 3 will be there. Mm-hmm. Now the thing is, how much, if it's Unreal Engine 3 could fit in the Wii U, like could work, then how much more can it push? That's the thing. We want to know, can it be pushed? We don't know because they didn't specify it, but the way it looks and the way it's running, it looks like it will handle Unreal Engine 3.
Right.
But the thing is, like, who knows? Because they went back to the drawing boards. I don't know if you realize that. They add another 2 game pads to be attached to the game. They had to go back to drawing board and redo certain things inside the system in order for it to handle 2 game pads.
Yeah, that's what
the frame rate dropped when they originally did it, so they had to go back to drawing board.
And that really makes me think it's kind of a bridge console. Like, it won't be able to handle what the actual next gen games are that are coming out, and in general, and that's kind of what I want to go over what I want from the next gen. It's that kind of visual fidelity. Because the thing is, like, at this point, what we're looking at, it's kind of hard to, make a difference between, this current gen and, the next gen. You can get a high-end PC and you could see the graphic fidelity and it looks really good, but to the the average consumer, are they going to be able to tell that even some of the average gamers, will they really know what is the difference, between the fidelity like a 720p what we have currently and like a 1080p? Like, will they be able to see? I mean, you can watch some of these demos, but is there going to be that big of a leap where it's going to justify spending that much more money on these next generation consoles? Mm-hmm. I mean, a lot of the things that they're going to they're going to put into these consoles, like more memory and so forth, that's something where the developers are going to have to understand the system and, be able to utilize that memory to, say, like, make a GTA where, it encompasses, maybe instead of just a city, maybe a whole entire state. Will they able to do that with the next generation with that? Because there's not going to be those, 5-year-old hardware where they don't have the memory to do so. And I think that's, AI is another thing they can improve on. There's just these little things where I think it's going to take years for them to understand how to develop for these systems, and I think that's when you're really going to see the next generation. I think just off a glance, like, just because it's in 1080p is not going to justify going out and spending, who knows, $500, $600 these systems may be. So what do you think about, what do you want from the next gen console?
I want more RAM, first of all. Yeah. I want more RAM because you can tell, like, we're pushing the limits. Not completely pushing. Some, like the PlayStation 3 games and Xbox 360, we slightly haven't found a game that completely pushed the true limit of both consoles yet.
Right.
But at the same time, like, I want more RAM. I want it to think faster. Like, we need more stuff in there. And as for the resolution, 1080p is really good right now. The only console that actually takes full advantage of that is the PlayStation 3 when it's a Blu-ray game. Yeah. There's not too many of them either. Like, most of them are like 1080i. Like, they claim that they're 1080p, but you can tell when it's when it actually says a Blu-ray disc for the game, the PlayStation game, that's when it's truly taking a full advantage of the resolution. So not all of them are like that. They're starting to get more and more games that are pushing out like that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? But majority of games are still 720p. Same thing with Xbox. Xbox is claiming some of their games are 1080i, but I mean, or 1080p, but you really can't get 1080p unless it's Blu-ray. So exactly. I don't care if anyone claims you can. You only disc you do it is Blu-ray. And if Xbox says that it can, then why do you have 3 discs for one game?
Nah, that Xbox definitely doesn't. Just off the basis there's 3 discs and that it doesn't even support it. I mean, like, they're so full of it. And that's not to say, like, Xbox doesn't have some really good looking games.
Oh, it is good. It's really good looking games.
And that's the interesting thing about it. I think, like, this console generation was a huge leap. That's why I feel like it's been going on for so long. I mean, you got to remember we were on tube TVs before this generation came out, and then everyone started getting HD TVs, and then like I'll never forget the first time I put Gears on a HD TV. I was like, what the hell? It's like you felt like, oh, all right, now I understand why I spent so much money for this system. I'm like, now you can see the visual fidelity compared to the older games.
And it keeps changing because it's not just like 1080p you're worried about. You're worried about the certain frame rate of the TV itself too. Like you might have it's so much to work with when you're looking at that stuff, and not to mention now LCD TVs look great when it first came out. Now all of a sudden you look at LED TVs compared to LCD TVs, and you're like, oh man, it's brighter colors. It looks so much better on this, and like this is the way it is. Like for what they're claiming that might happen for the PlayStation and the Xbox, PlayStation mostly, they're saying the resolution is gonna be so high. The resolution is gonna be higher than what you see for iPad right now. That's what they're aiming for, resolution. You're thinking to yourself, well, the TV is only gonna be 1080p. What's the point of even bringing out a new console now? But I mean, like I said, Sony is also a TV company.
Right.
Sony will find a way to make a TV that's that big. It's in the works right now. They already have the resolution to do this, but the thing is, they're all trying to do cost. It's all about the cost, how they're going to do it to the regular consumer to say, hey, buy this TV. And it's going to come down to that because I really don't see too much more to do, but to add RAM to make it, make it handle certain gaming engines, because like we just discussed, the Square Enix engine and that Unreal Engine 4, none of those are going to be be able to run a new console. I guarantee the next gen console still will not be able to fully run into. We debated this the other day, and what you said is they're going to downgrade it a little bit, scale it down slightly to put it in there, and I agree with that. But I know as what they showed in the presentation, that it's too high. That's a PC only engine. Those are PC engine only engines, and I mean, unless we get new PCs that they're not talking about, like a PC console, because slowly that's what the consoles are trying to do. They're trying to pull those PC gamers to go to the consoles. So, I mean, you're looking at that. If you want that, then you're looking at a higher price. So if you want a lower price console, then there you go.
I'm thinking this generation is gonna be very similar to the last one, and I think for a couple of reasons. I think Xbox, they're not gonna do this higher resolution that Sony did. I think just the way Sony has a higher resolution than the Xbox now. I think it's gonna be similar. I think Sony's Xbox is gonna come out earlier than Sony. I think they're gonna come out with a 1080p. They're not gonna be as they're gonna have not high resolution as Sony comes out. They're gonna come out later and at a higher price point. And I think the thing is where you have like stuff like Unreal, I think they are going to have to downgrade it so it works on both Xbox and PS3. So it will be a thing where you'll only see like maybe Sony first party stuff like really be able to take advantage of that resolution, because they want, it's all about the less exclusive games and more multi-platform things, and I think they're going to try to have it where it's on all these different consoles, PC, the next PS3 and the next Xbox. The thing that I'm wondering about is what's going to happen with the Wii U. Are they going to scale it down even more to the Wii U, or like what's the difference between like the Wii U and Xbox in terms of the technology?
We don't know until they finally completely show us the specs, if they ever do it. I mean, like you buy some food and it has ingredients and shit. I don't even think if you buy the Wii U, it's even going to say the ingredients. It's like, how do they make this Wii U? Let's look at the ingredients real quick. Oh, it's not. Sorry, they didn't come with the ingredients.
So what time frame are you thinking these next generation consoles will come out? Because everyone has speculation.
Well, we still living on the Wii U. You mean the real next generation console?
Yes. The new PS3.
I don't know, man. I was so happy that all these rumors were not true, because I didn't think we were ready. No console was ready to come out yet, because we didn't do the full graphics or anything of the original consoles right now. We still haven't reached the full potential, so why come out? So I'm thinking Xbox is going to be ready next year to announce their new system. Next year, they're going to announce it. It's going to be released in another year after that, I'm guessing. And PlayStation is going to be, I think, 2 years also. But I think Xbox more like a year and a half, a year.
I'm thinking Xbox 2014 fall and PS3 spring 2015.
And just quick note, I don't think any of them are gonna go with the bandwagon where it's all just downloaded games.
Oh,
and
absolutely
all that,
not.
that stuff. No,
Which brings up an interesting topic, right? It's gonna. You think Sony, not Sony, Xbox is gonna have to have Blu-ray, right? So.
They're gonna, if they have Blu-ray, they're gonna have to pay Sony some rights. So I don't know yet. I'm sure they don't know yet either.
Yeah.
So unless they figure out something that's higher resolution than Blu-ray, which is possible, and I'm sure, who knows, Sony might be on the works of that. Something that's higher resolution and bigger, like, capacity for Blu-ray.
Right.
So.
But I do think digital distribution. I think they will get more close to day and day. I think it will be physical copy as well as digital copy. Same day, I think that's something that, especially Xbox is gonna be told. PS3 probably as well, because I know they're working on their online infrastructure. But yeah, I mean that's pretty much it. I mean that's really what we want from the next gen consoles. So what are you working on for this month for the site, Hector, that everyone could check out?
Website? Well, we got a couple things. We're gonna start doing gaming news. So we're gonna be working on that. I mean, hopefully we'll get it up. The first time, by the end of the month, we'll be able to get one video up. We're going to be doing gaming news. We're going to try to work on it once every 2 weeks. Also, the end of the month, 26th, I'll be working on Spec Ops The Line, wearing a t-shirt, repping the game over here. Actually, Drew's doing we're currently working on one game right now, which is...
Lollipop Chainsaw.
And then
I'll be doing Quantum Conundrum next Thursday comes out. Yeah. So, yeah, definitely check out Lollipop Chainsaw, what we got so far. It's getting some pretty good views, and people seem to be enjoying it. So, can't wait to finish up that game this week and start Quantum Conundrum. And, yeah, that's pretty much it for the month of June.
I mean, stay tuned. I keep putting up vlogs. I'm going to try to put up a vlog or some sort of video, like, once a week. So, it'll be, like, debatable topics, stuff like that. I'll just put it up there, and sometimes I make some silly ones. I know the last one's kind of silly. I did some stupid things in it, but, I'm going to try and make you guys laugh. I don't mind making myself look like an ass on camera. But I guess that's pretty much it, right?
Yeah, that's it.
All right, this is Hector.
This is Drew.
And we're from Not2Nerdy. See you, YouTube.